Hello and welcome once more to a Stepping Stone 2 podcast. I'm with Nigel in his flat and I'm with Trey. Today we're going to talk about the success, and these are my words. I've discussed it with Nigel and Trey together. I've noticed that the contrast betwixt other people's methods of building up a therapeutic relationship, or not, as the case may be, and being successful in enabling someone to manage their own finances with support, which is what you've been doing. Yeah. I've noticed that the contrast has been extremely stark, and I think that the methodologies, the practicalities, the weight actually done between Trey and Nigel is something I think that needs to be profiled for other people to look at and think, well, yeah, maybe we can tap into that, and maybe we're not actually doing that, and maybe we should be doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm not prescribing through this podcast to people because I think that's a little bit arrogant. Having said that, there was a thing going back in the 80s called best practice, wasn't there, where you shared?
Yes, yeah.
And I still believe that's the case. If you are aware of someone doing something that works, that's successful, then I think there's an obligation on yourself or yourselves to actually look at that and think, yeah, maybe we can bring that in, or even work with the people. Excuse me, my hearing aid just told me now that the battery's flat. or is it me that's flat? I'm not quite sure which. That's better, I can hear better now. So I think it's important that we all share best practice, because I think too many people get tunnel visioned and it's my way or the highway, and then clients suffer because they're not getting that chance to be worked with that particular kind of practice. So we're going to look at how Trey and Nigel got to where they're at now and achieved the success I believe that they've achieved, and then we're going to move on to how they've actually done it, the mechanics of it. Yeah, or what's that called, the methodologies anyway. So I'm going to begin with Nigel, because Nigel's the most important person. He's the client. And I just want to, we touched on it earlier, Nigel, off microphone, about the work you've been doing together. And we talked about the relationship, didn't we?
Yeah,
I called the therapeutic relationship.
Yeah,
so
therapeutic, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been over time, hasn't it?
We're doing it over time, yeah.
And you got to know Trey how long ago?
It's over 6 years since I started coming to the sessions with SS2.
So how long has it been since she's been managing your finances with you?
Well, about 4 years, isn't it?
4 years, yeah. Be about 4 years.
You get murdered for this.
I don't get life for that, no?
No, about 4 years. It took about 4 years to get to where I am now. Yeah,
so where do you believe you are now in relation to your managing your budget, your finances, your purchasing of items, decorating your flat, things like that? Where do you think you are in relation to say, back at the start of the 4 year period? What are the differences? Explain to me. We said there that the place I've got to now, but what is that place you've got to now? Because it's often overlooked, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It is, well, people will say it's a better place, but I don't know. Is it? It's better now, a lot better now than what it was, because I was getting almost into trouble, and then getting all sorts of stuff from the bank and those places as well, and I was thinking, I'm going to get myself into real trouble here. And
that shouldn't occur, should it?
No.
Because, any service that's ignoring that particular issue, then it's not good for the client, Definitely not good for your organisation if people are getting into debt when actually the money should be managed.
Yeah.
So, you'd mentioned a better place.
Yeah.
I think what Nigel was meaning was that it's a term used, a phrase used, when I've got to a better place.
Yeah, got to.
Yeah, but often when people say that, they don't actually explain what they mean by that better place. So I think what you've done is you've actually said that you've moved away from debt,
Yes, I have.
You've moved away from the worry of debt,
Yeah.
because that, I think, is a big factor, which affected your anxiety and, you know, the way you felt about yourself. So if we move across the tray now, because, you know, it's been an alien area for her, because she came from the corporate world into the personal, emotional world, and had to pretty much learn on the hoof. So if we go back 4 years, and you said 6 years in duration, you've been with
just over 6 years,
Yeah. So really, you know, you both were on a journey together of learning, because this is something that wasn't in place prior to, you know, you coming along. But you also had to deal with, and Nigel knows this, because he always had a bit of an issue with people telling him what to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, I agree with him, because quite often people who supported Nigel would maybe, as he said earlier there, tell him to do things and, you know, appear to be more in control than he was, you know, so this is what I tell you to do because I'm the staff. So he'd fight back with that.
Yeah.
And then that would be portrayed as him being awkward, which actually it wasn't. You know, what he was trying to say was, look, hey, work with me in a certain way, and then we might be able to move forward. If you keep talking like that, I'm not going to work with you. So obviously you had to get on board with that, you know, and there was a couple of situations where you found it difficult, Nigel, and I'm going to ask you shortly about that. You found it difficult because you weren't sure how you should approach Nigel. Should I tell him what to do, or, you know, have I gone too far with that? So explain to me a little bit about how you got to where you're at now, to have a successful therapeutic relationship that enabled Nigel to handle his money.
Well, one of the things I actually did quite a bit was to talk to yourself, because you've known Nigel a long time. And, you know, if I felt something wasn't working with Nigel and I wasn't sure how to, you know, approach it, I would say, right, I think I'm doing this wrong. What am I doing wrong? You know, I feel I'm being, you know, maybe upsetting Nigel, or he's not comfortable with such and such, and what am I doing?
So in the old days, there used to be a probationary period. I'm not quite sure if any other services out there that still do that, but it used to be a period of time where people could introspect, they could look back within themselves and see what, you know, how they were, and then the people who were more experienced than them would sit with them and talk it through. And it might be that the more experienced person noticed a particular behaviour or particular words that were said that would disrupt and inhibit that therapeutic relationship. Now, obviously, Nigel was a part in that because he's the most important person. You know, because the way that Nigel would be sometimes would affect how you were. You know, and vice versa. So you quite rightly came to, and I would advocate to people definitely to do this, to go to somebody else and say, look, I'm not sure about this. You know, do you think I'm maybe being a bit too full on or whatever? And that probationary period would identify that, and if you were useless, they got rid of you. Basically. And if you showed all the things that you two mentioned earlier about value, respect, dignity, etc., then, you know, you move forward. And that was surely better for the client. And
I think one of the things that, I mean, for me, a big learning thing was adapting how I passed over information to take into account how Nigel takes in information. That was a big learning curve, because you always come from how you understand and your pace of learning, and you have to adapt to the other person, the other side. And I'd done it before, but not to this extent. You know, I'd done it in, you know, office work and training, but not to this extent.
So if I bring in a little bit of a devil's advocate here, and hopefully you'll both be able to answer this. Now, if you train to be a social worker, and I think it's quite well documented, my thoughts on a number of SWs out there, if you're listening, please feel free to complain. It was said that you had to have quite clear boundaries, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you, Nigel, about boundaries when you're working with someone?
No, not to get too close to them, and to show them stuff, and let them explain what it is.
Okay, so
because you don't want to get in space thing.
Right, now, in the world of learning disability, mental health or whatever you want to, autism, people don't necessarily understand the boundaries, the social etiquette, etc. So there's always a kind of bit of a mishmash, and
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people don't know where the hell they're at. So you either get one person who works with them and polarises them, or you get someone who's trying desperately to get on board with how they are as people. Yeah. Now, if you introduce a boundary, you can't do that. Now, I was continually brought to account about going over the boundaries. You know, shouldn't be doing that because such and such. Now, we talk about human beings here.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about living, breathing people who, you know, maybe don't know how to build friendships, and you know, maybe the SW or the, you know, CPN or whatever, the only people that they really see and get the chance to talk to. Now, if they just put that boundary up, everything all right, Nigel? You doing okay?
No.
You know, now, you know, and I just had the experience over the years. I don't doubt you've probably had the same thing. You cannot remove the human aspect from that therapeutic relationship. Compassion, empathy, friendship.
Yeah.
Now, it was said to me many years ago, oh, you can't be friends with clients because he's gone across the boundaries and the barriers. Yeah? So I come to you, you know, you're probably one of the few people you see, and you think, oh, Harry's coming today, or Trey's coming today, and then they act like a robot.
Yeah.
How are you going to feel?
Rubbish.
Or I come in, and I'm who I am,
Yeah.
yeah, totally aware, obviously, of you know, of human boundaries and etiquette boundaries, etc.
Yeah.
But I'm me,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm pleased to see the client, right? Now, I'm sorry, but I know many people out there who are going to argue with this, and I'm fine, because if you want to party, I'll party with you, right? But you're not going to get success if you remove that human aspect from that therapeutic relationship.
Well, no, you won't, because people you spend time with, they won't open up, and they won't tell you things that's troubling them if they feel that boundary. So there's things you could miss. You know, there's things that could come up that, say, Nigel wants to talk about, and he doesn't feel like he can.
Because you put that barrier up.
Which is no good, is it? You know, it's because it's not just. I mean, I know we're talking about finances, but when you're working with somebody, it's all over. It's all of it. It's their emotional, physical. It's everything.
Well, it might be a day when you've had a bad night, Nigel, or things have gone wrong, and then the person that's working with you comes in, and immediately you've got to switch on to start to do what they've got to do, because they've got a time scale. You know, they can't just leave it till the next week because, you know, they get in trouble or whatever, because the system's set up to run, but not necessarily set up for the client.
Yeah.
To take into account how that client is each day. You know, and we all have difficult days, we all have good days, you know, but you have to get to know that person, and you cannot get to know them if there's barriers there. Now, we're not talking about everybody sleeping with the clients, you know, which is the extreme end.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is being human when you're working with someone.
Yes. Yeah, and being approachable.
Yeah, approachable, have empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't mean, oh, so you don't feel so good today then, Nigel, right, okay, yes, well, yes, anyway, let's get back to such and such, nothing, you know. Or they'll say something like, right, okay, well, I'll get someone to pop in and have a few words with you. Yeah, you know, it's not human, and it doesn't work, you know. And then, of course, you run the risk of conditioning that person to be a certain way every time you come.
Yeah.
And that's no good either, you know, because they've got to live their lives as well.
Yeah.
You know, so yes, I think there's certain aspects of boundaries, and Nigel knows because we've been through them, and you set quite a number in the early days there. But once you've done that, then just go with it.
Yeah.
You know? So, what are your thoughts on the current relationship now with yourself and Trey, Nigel, when she comes to your property, she comes to see you, to you know, to help you with your daily living? How do you feel when she's coming along? What are your thoughts before she comes?
I look forward to seeing my friend, and then We just get on with what we need to do. We ask. We're kind of stuck.
No, it's okay now, so don't worry, because it's quite a deep subject. Now, you mentioned your friend.
I look
Right.
forward to seeing my friend, yeah.
Right. Now, we mentioned boundaries earlier there, didn't we?
Yeah.
Sorry, Nigel, we can't really, be talking about friends, because I'm here to work with you. And, friendships are things that other people do outside. These people have friendships, but you can't have friendships with us because we're different. Oh, well, actually in your mission statement, your ethos there, you're talking about equality and difference and rights and choices. Well, what are you on about? I don't know anybody that can back that up. They can prescribe it, but they can't back it up.
Yeah.
So, if Trey's coming, you're going to be doing the daily stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned there about your friend coming. What normally happens when Trey turns up? Apart from you ignoring the door and leaving it outside.
Well, normally I'm in the kitchen or somewhere doing something, and then I try and be drink or something, and then Tracy answers and I go.
Yeah, so you relax, you expect a friend.
Yeah.
Who's just supporting you with your daily living.
Yeah.
So, if you look at the other side, right, I mentioned one earlier there, you've got a client, or individual, whatever name you want to call, recipient of a service user, so many titles now, and the person's in the flat, and on the rota is a person that hasn't tried to build up a therapeutic relationship, and because we've mentioned about this with an individual, and they know that person's coming. They start at 8, and that person doesn't really want to come out and spend time with that other person. Yeah? So how would you feel if that was the case, when someone's coming that you don't get on with, you haven't tried to get on with you, they'll tell you what to do, or they're just quite cold, or, how would you feel?
Thought they were rubbish or something, or disappointed that they come. Don't know. And
you had no choice in that either. You have a choice in whether or not Trey comes to see you, to support you. But if you can imagine, you haven't got that choice, and it could be anybody turning up, and it's someone that hasn't built that friendship up with you. How are you going to feel?
Well, sad and not happy, unhappy.
Because you're not being able to be yourself.
No.
And move freely around your flat, because I think we mentioned some time back there that you have to remember, if you come into someone's environment, it's their environment.
Yeah.
And we're not saying walking on eggshells, but you have to be aware of what you're saying and what you do. And I've seen people go into kitchens in people's flats and just start cooking while the person's sitting in the. That's not what you do.
No.
You'd sit with the individual and say, "Oh, we're going to be doing some cooking today," or whatever nicely, and you two do that anyway.
Yeah, we do.
So let's move on to the financial side then, because I think it's quite clear to me, and if anybody wants to view how Nigel and Trey get on, working relationship or friendship or whatever, then please feel free to check it out. But when we come on to the financial part, it can't be successful without that therapeutic relationship.
No, it's quite a personal thing, isn't it? Helping somebody with their finances, it is a very personal thing.
So why is it personal? Why is it personal? Some people would say, well, that's my job, that's what I do.
This is different.
How much money you got in your tin?
Yeah, this is different than a corporate situation. It's personal because it affects Nigel's life and what happens in your life, Nigel. So that's where it's personal. And I feel it's also quite a lot of responsibility for the person that's trying to support, to keep them safe, So there's a lot goes into it.
So tell me the mechanics then of the financial success that you've had, or the methodologies around it. How has it been successful as a model that other people can look at and think, we'll try a bit of that, we'll maybe learn from that, or it'll contrast against what people are actually doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you want to contrast it slightly from how it was at the start till now? Would that help, Nige?
Yeah. Yeah.
So at the start, when we started working together with your finances, you were in debt and you were struggling.
Yeah. I was struggling, yeah.
So you asked for help, if I remember.
Yeah. I asked for help, yeah, because I was thinking, this not on my own. I'm working very well. I need help to get.
Well, it's not a test now, so you don't
No,
have to. There's no right or wrong answer.
It's just that I need help to get back on the feet, and get the money built up so that I can have money to get stuff, but also to pay my bills as well.
Yeah.
And not get left on.
Yeah, I mean, getting in debt is not indigenous to people with complex needs. I mean, we look at a society that are riddled with debt. It's the connotations of that debt. It's what happens to you as an individual, and the trouble you get into, how you feel about it. Because most people who get into debt, unless they're really kind of a bit of a shark, actually don't really want to be in debt, and it makes them anxious and they get stressed, etc., and nervous.
And it added to your anxiety, didn't it, Nige?
It did.
Being in that situation.
Yeah.
I remember that, and I remember you being in quite a bad place at the same time.
Yeah.
It was almost like the debt was part of other things that was going wrong for you at that time.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So, getting help with your finances, we kind of like gradually got into how you could be more comfortable with what was going on.
Yeah.
We worked on that, didn't we? Because I think that's when we sort of like got closer in that way with our working relationship and how we were together, our friendship and that, because we were working together about how you're feeling about things and how that affected your finances and how finances affected you in your everyday living.
Because it's helped me get out of debt, and it's helped me to realise that the money that comes in isn't just to be swindled and all sorts of stuff. It's there to help me to live a better life as well. Yeah,
because you mentioned earlier, Nigel, about buying items like TVs and things like that, and you've got your model railway as well, because you wouldn't be able to do that,
No, not before.
At the outset. But I think as well, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but your mindset, I think, kind of went towards the gospel that's been preached out there about, well, it's their money, so they can pretty much do what they want with that money.
Yeah.
Now, you can argue if you want to, but people's heads get turned.
Too right.
And the mantra becomes, well, I think it's my money. If I were to spend 50 quid today, I'm going to spend 50 quid today. But if nobody's looking after the books, that's spending a 50 quid on a regular basis. And look at the client that we had who's now left.
Yeah.
Just spend all over the place and end up in debt. So really, that mantra of it's my money must have affected you in some way. Which the earlier battles between you two, there'd have been a factor in there.
Yeah, there was the factor. I remember that.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
And I'm not saying that you were wrong, Naz, because you're not alone. There's other people doing the same thing.
Yes, they
but
are.
It's that belief that's instilled into people that that's your money, so you've got a right and a choice, but they don't give you anything else how to work with that.
No, they don't. No. They don't give you the skills to stay safe.
No, you're the most. I've said that 2 or 3 times now. You're the most important person.
Yeah.
And if that was the case, then you're gonna have to do it properly so that person doesn't fall by the wayside or become anxious, or as Nigel said a few times there about getting to debt. And I don't think it's shameful for Nigel, because I think it was just an occurrence that's happened to many other people anyway.
Yeah.
And it's not indigenous to people with learning disability, etc. So let's look at, Nigel, the regular work you do with Trey on the financial side. Yeah? Tell me some things that you do with Trey to do with your budgeting. What kind of things do you both do on a regular basis?
Well, we've now started with getting some money for stuff.
Yeah.
I will generally have paper and other stuff like that. But also, if I wanted to buy something in my flat, or like a treat or something, I can get that. But I don't. If I can't afford it, and the money's gone somewhere, I have to go to somewhere else. I don't bother getting it.
So you have a regular kind of communication. You mentioned it earlier on there, and it is crucial. But in the absence of getting on with each other, you're not going to get that proper communication.
No, you're not.
But you're able to mention to Trey without reservation, Trey, I need some new shoes now because my shoes are starting to wear out. Now, okay, you could say, well, that person should go for their own shoes. You know, it's their money; they can go and. But then just remove the support then and just let people just wander around, you know.
Yeah.
But it's a consensus of opinion and agreement where you mention to Trey, well, I'm getting a bit worn down with these trays now, Trey. Yeah. Then Trey will say, oh, well, how much money have we got in another account now? So we can't be able to afford it. So it's a dual thing.
Yes, it is.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It isn't led by one person. You know, either saying, all right, now it's your choice, you do it, or it's right, I'll sort it out, Nigel. Yeah, you've found that balance, haven't you?
Yeah, we
well,
have.
yes, because it's part of how we budget the money and work with the money. Because it's getting the support so that you don't have to think about too much.
No.
But can do the day-to-day things.
Let's look at control then, Nigel. Control of someone's money or supporting someone to manage the money. Which is it?
Well, it's the support bit, because if you do this will happen, and it'll be a consequence, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, the consequence you mentioned earlier there, as a few said about debt.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and of course the feels that come with that as well.
Too right.
True.
Yeah, it is a support because you know that the advice and what we talk about with your finances to keep you safe, but not to control what you're doing. You know, it's me being able to explain things at times as best I can, so you can understand that yes, we can do that, maybe not now but later, but it will happen, or yes, we can do that now, or we can save up for that, you know, and we manage it and we're looking at other things. So it's everything that you need, isn't it? Yeah, and that's support for me rather than control.
Yeah, but it's still, you know, it's evolving with you both. You know, it's we haven't got to the end now. We discussed yesterday about the amounts of money in the tin.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you both a question now, and I'd like a reasonably constructive answer. There's no right or wrong. Yeah, and I mentioned the word control.
Yeah. Because
many people feel as though they're being controlled because no work's being done on that therapeutic relationship with people.
Yeah.
And, you know, make no bones about this, there are people out there within services who are being controlled indirectly. Yeah, and that's the bit I find the most sinister. It's that subversive control. On the one hand, find some choices, on the other, oh, we'll deal with that. You know? Or they'll tell someone they're only allowed so much, but won't tell them why.
Yeah.
You know, and I mentioned about individuals, Bradford Bingley book, many months ago, Nigel.
Yeah.
This person didn't know how much money they had.
Yeah.
Now, I believe that a client should know how much money's coming in and how much money's going out, even if they've got a very, very, you know, low grasp of the fiscal side.
Yeah, so they're part of the process, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Sure.
So, back to the question. Right, you've got a tin now, is that correct?
Yes, I have.
Not a tin of beans, a tin.
A tin.
And you have money in it?
Yeah.
Right. So, the question I'm going to put to each of you is, right, you both work together and you've been successful in what you do.
Yeah.
Okay. Trey then says to you, Nigel, you've got too much money in your tin. Yeah? You tell Nigel he's got too much money in his tin.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to answer me, tell me, is that something that should be done with a client?
No, I don't believe so.
Why? Nigel, the director's given to you, we're talking hypothetically. Trey's come in one day, you normally have about, was it 30 quid in your tin?
Yeah, normally, yeah.
Yeah, sorry burglars if you listen to this. I haven't got that much in there.
No.
Tin is safe.
So, right, you then say to Trey, well, I want more in my tin. I need more in my tin. Yeah? Tell me how that would work with you two.
It most likely won't. It won't work, will it?
Well, not if I said no, you can't, and you said yes, I want. No, you come on two separate ends, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so I'll throw in another devil's bit. She says to you, she being Trey, yeah. Well, Nigel, if you get burgled, they'll if you've got too much money in your tin, they'll take your money.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Tell me, is that something that should be done?
Well,
You're justified to the person. There's a risk of getting your money stolen,
Yeah, there is.
so you need to cap that money in the tin. So the burglar only gets so much of your money. How would that work?
you'd have to give more reason than that, I think, because it's an overall safety with using money, not just what you've got in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So how would you respond to that directive, Nigel, if Trey came to you one day and said, oh, Nigel, you're only going to be allowed to have that much in your tin? What would you think? Would it affect that therapeutic relationship that you built up with Trey?
Well, if he was explaining a way where don't have too much money lying around and just have a certain amount, and then if you do get burgled, at least they don't get all of it, and you can say, well, this has happened, and I think we need to maybe look at another amount somewhat, so there's less in there.
So you could say, well, okay, Nige, every week you go to the bank and you pay. I mean, most people now do backs transfers and things now, but you keep all your money in the bank.
Yeah.
Because it's safe there.
Yeah, it is.
And we'll give you a few pence to work with during the day, enough to buy your paper.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at rights and choices.
Right. Okay.
Now, from my perspective, you've really kind of gone way over the top, because you've told this individual, I'm working with you, we're going to get a balance, so we both agree with what's going to work, keep you safe, etc. But now I'm telling you, you're only allowed to have that much money in your tin. What am I doing right away?
Well, telling you what to do and taking control.
Taking control.
Yeah.
The very thing that you've worked at to get a balance on, and Nancy, you were quite right when you said this is something that would be negotiated between the two parties.
Yeah.
Now, I can't see, if you had 50 quid in your tin, right, as opposed to 100, say, for instance,
Yeah.
but you got nicked 50 quid,
Yeah.
the feeling of having 50 quid nicked would be kind of similar to having 100 quid nicked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the bigger picture for me is that if there's no consensus and you're telling someone that's how much they've got to have, you're taking that person's rights and choices away. Because what should happen is, if the person's got capacity, obviously, is that people sit down together and discuss it.
Yeah. And I think as well, it's partly to do with what's comfortable, because that's how we worked your petty cash at first. What you felt comfortable with having in and managing. Because in the end, Nigel, you're the one that's trying to manage that money.
Yeah.
So, if I said, oh, I think this is going to be okay, and it wasn't, it could be, oh no, that's too much, I don't want that, or that's too little, that's not, so you've got to try and find what's more comfortable for you to manage.
Yeah.
Because you're the one that's managing on a daily basis.
Yeah, I am, yeah.
So is there any place for directives then with clients when you're helping them to manage the money?
I would say no.
It's not a trick question.
No,
It's not
no.
a trick question.
No.
No?
Because that would then damage that relationship.
Yeah.
And normally it's passed down to other people to administer those directives. And for me personally, if you don't think that's right and you've got a good relationship with that client, and then you carry out that directive, then you've ruined that therapeutic relationship, because clients will remember that's what you've done.
Yeah.
You've been nice to me all that time, and you suddenly told me to do that, and I didn't really have a say in that, And again, you could justify by saying, well, maybe having too much is the chance of people getting burgled or whatever, and I accept that.
Yeah.
But it has to be with the consent of the individual. You have to agree that that's what's going to happen, Nigel.
Yeah.
But you also have the right to have a particular amount of money in your tin that you think is fine.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that will be agreed between you both. And again, we've got to the point now where you have more money in your tin,
Yeah.
and that works.
Yeah.
Because I think you said earlier, Nigel, that you felt quite stressed because there was, having too much money in your tin.
Yeah.
And now, I think that stress is abated because you both
Yeah.
worked at that.
We did it gradually, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And
yeah.
also it changes on it's not like a set amount now, it's more,
No.
well, that's the base, the basis, and then
Yeah.
if something comes up, or then more goes in,
Yeah.
so we have a base
Yeah, we do, yeah.
level, and then you just add it to when things come up.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that stood out for me about the therapeutic relationship and the success you both had is that you've taken Nigel to a point where he used to be, because he don't necessarily imagine the way that you work with him, but he was pretty good, making sure that things were okay.
Yeah.
Keeping the books right. He didn't have a great deal of money, but he always managed to get by. But one thing that stood out for me was the success that Nigel did a transfer without being told to do so.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Nigel?
Yeah.
That was a massive success for me, because part of him as well was like, okay, I feel comfortable to do this now on my own. I know I'm going to be, doing something that normally Trey would do,
Yeah.
but I'll have a go.
Well, we normally do it together, don't we?
Yeah, normally, yeah.
I don't do them on my own. We always do it together.
Yeah.
So before we round off with the podcast now, because I'm very aware now we're all getting hypothermia, there's like a veil of
Cold air.
just suddenly kind of appeared there. Tell me just a little bit, Nigel, about why you decided you would do that transfer. This is not me judging you either.
Just so that the money was there, and it took the pressure off you two. Because I know that you had other things to do on that morning,
Yeah.
and you had to, because sometimes Harry can be
Regularly, Nigel, regularly.
be what?
Stressed.
I didn't want Harry to say, I've got to, because you have your routine, and then that thing came in, and I thought, oh, hang on a minute, I don't want to put Harry under pressure.
Now that is another factor of the therapeutic relationships being built up,
Yeah.
because you didn't think you had to wait until what's normally called a member of staff, because the member of staff will do that. And if I do it on my own, I'm going to get told off. Yeah? You just did it,
Yeah.
didn't you? But it showed me as well that you had the confidence as well
Yeah.
to do it.
Because he knew how much you needed. It's for the
Yeah.
bed, wasn't it?
You're for the bed,
Yeah?
yeah.
And of course that put your mind at ease because it was
Yeah.
done and signed off.
Yeah, it was.
Now, surely you want to bring a client, or whatever name you want to call them, to a point where they don't feel as though they're going to wait for somebody else to do
Yeah.
it for them.
Yeah.
Another example of success that you both had.
Yeah, and I think the recent thing with the petty cash, your own team, that's been going on coming up 12 months now, I think. I think that's probably helped because you've been managing
Yeah,
a certain amount of money on, pretty much on your own.
I have, yeah.
I mean, fair enough, I'm checking it with you at times and then regularly, but you are actually on a daily basis deciding how you work that money.
Yeah,
Which is, whereas before, we're trying to do it between us.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
Yesterday, the subject of cashing up and checking the money came up. I was during a dialogue with somebody else within services. Now, it was mentioned about whether or not that was something that people should be doing with people's money.
Yeah.
Remember? Now, what are your thoughts on regular cash-ups and check-ups? Because this is not Trey coming in, you know, and saying, right now, I should be checking your tin or whatever. This is you two working together because you've agreed on it, haven't you?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. Why is it important that you regularly check your daily, daily spends or whatever, and your monthly spends, etc.? Because Trey does the books back at her house. Why is that not an imposition, something that you feel as though is controlling you? Why do you feel it's necessary to do that?
So it's so that you know what's going out and what's coming in, and then you know what you need it for.
And that sounds quite simplistic, but actually most people wouldn't get into debt if that's what they did on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Because most people don't see how much is coming in and how much is going out.
No, I don't.
And then the balance goes the other way, where you've got little coming in and too much going out.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't see it as control. I see it as actually something that's needed. It's
safeguarding, isn't it?
Yeah, it's essential.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's important to do it in a way that's consensual. It's done in a way where it's agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if Trey was coming in and you was sitting like a spare part and she started checking up on your money and things without your intervention, it wouldn't work, would it? So that therapeutic relationship has to be at all points when you're working with the money.
Too right.
Yeah, the money's in your flats, it is your money to work with, and Trey comes in to support you with that. But if she came in and started doing it without your consent, that's a no.
Well, we started off when we did the petty cash. We did it together, the cash up, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And then eventually I asked if you'd be okay to do it on your own, and I would check it every other week, see how you do with your book and that. And that's how it works now. We have a date, we both write down, on that day I'll be, doing my check. And it was a gradual thing, really. It came in that way. And it's so that you became more comfortable with managing that money.
So if you didn't have the therapeutic relationship you've got with Trey, and anybody came in who was working with you and said, how much money you got in your tin? How would you feel? You don't know them very well, they've come to work with you. How much money you got in your tin, Nigel? What's the first question you're going to ask them?
Why are you asking?
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you look at control, if anybody's told to do that with someone they don't really have that good a relationship with, you're going to create further problems in the future. You're going to create a problem immediately, because that person needs to know why it is you're asking that question. Has that person got the right to ask that question?
Not really, no.
Well, I ask the question every week. Why do you think it's different when we discuss it? What's the difference?
Well, because you're not asking the question forthright, are you?
No, when I ask the question, I say, how are you doing with your money in your tin? And because we're thinking about topping it up, aren't we?
Yeah.
And then you'll let me know I need such and such. So that's when we adjust the figure every week.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
So you do need to ask the question, but it's how you ask the question.
Yeah.
And how it's explained.
And the context.
Yeah.
You're quite right, Nigel. Yours is done in a consensual, functional, regular way because you two have agreed with that. If someone just suddenly comes in and asks you how much money you've got in your tin, that's got nothing to do with managing the money together.
No,
it's not.
No, it's part of the process, because obviously Nigel knows the things he needs to get, don't you? Different weeks, different money, and obviously I have to think about the other side. So it's communication. Or Nigel said to me, I need such, or right, okay, I need to get more out for, to make sure you've got enough. So otherwise it goes wrong and the person hasn't got what they need.
So it's not just the functional, it's how you do it.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
it's taking into account what's required, you know, what the person needs, and they of course tell you, and it adjusts it, doesn't it?
So you're actually helping and supporting someone to manage the money.
Yeah.
You're not actually taking over and managing the money.
No, it's not that way.
No.
So let's round up now before we all get hypothermia.
That was before, wasn't it?
If you wanted people to learn something from this podcast, and you know, we'll do some more in the future, what do you think are the key areas that are crucial to get to where you are now that people can learn from? What's crucial in that therapeutic relationship building that's made this a success for you too? It's okay, it's not a trick question.
No, I'm just waiting for Nigel to...
You mentioned quite a number, and in the absence of those things you mentioned, it's not going to work. What things do you need in place together when you're working with someone or being with someone that enables that relationship to grow and you're more able to manage someone's money?
Values.
Yeah, understanding.
Yep, understanding.
Well, and communicate with each other as well.
Communication, and that's a biggie, communication,
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah. Getting to know somebody.
Yeah.
Because, you know, how they work with their money actually is part of who they are as a person, and their interests and that, so that's part of it.
Yeah.
What about trust?
Yeah.
Yeah, trust as well.
Trust.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah, you respect.
What about dignity? Which is a good Deacon Blues song.
Mm-hmm.
Was
I
it?
remember. Is it a town called Dignity or something?
I think so.
Yeah. Sorry, Nigel.
Yeah, just having the make sure that you're dignified and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so dignity for me is right. You're on the toilet.
Yeah.
And Trey calls to see you to help you with your money, and you're on the toilet.
Yeah.
Now she lets herself in.
Yeah.
And starts doing the money, and you sit on the toilet. Is that respecting your dignity?
Don't think so. No.
What are your thoughts?
No, it's not. In fact, I tend to stand outside and wait till Nigel's finished, rather than even let myself
What's
in.
wrong with that? Because you know, most people don't like to have people around them when they're having a shit.
Yeah.
Basically, or another one, or whichever.
Yeah, I do tend to do that. I tend to wait outside until Nigel's finished. You know, and can get to the door. Yeah.
You're respecting that person's space.
Yeah.
And you're more likely to remember that, Nigel, if people
Yeah.
don't do that. It could be in the bath, you know, and you shout through, "Oh, I'm in the bath, I won't be long."
Yeah.
You know, if you said, "I'm in the bath, just come in and, you know, make yourself a cup and I won't be long," that's fine.
Yeah.
But just because you work with someone and you're on the rota or whatever system people use, it doesn't give you the right to invade that person's space.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, I've seen people go into people's flats and start picking things up. They're looking at them while the client's sitting there. You know, you don't do things like that.
No.
But then the other side is you don't be cold either, because, you know, things like, right now, Nigel, what are we going to be doing today then? You know, I mean, that's a barrier right away, isn't it? You know, it's about just relaxing, and, you know, and you could say, "Oh, do you want a cup of Tray?"
Yeah.
You know, or you could say, "Oh, we haven't got to have a cup of nice before we start." Just that nice kind of relaxed way.
Yeah.
What about if you're not feeling so good though, as a member of staff, and you go into a flat and you've got a hangover or a bit of a cob on? Should you change the way you are with that client? How should you be?
Yourself.
Yeah, it should be yourself. I mean, if you're feeling ill, then if you explain that you're not feeling right yourself, then it's because it's the work. You know, it's a mutual friendship, isn't it? So that the person you're with takes that into account, just like you do for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's about empathy, because, you know, each day is different. and you might be feeling not so good one day, or and you don't really want to say anything to someone. But if you have that good relationship where you've built it up over time, you're more likely to say, "Oh, I don't feel so good today, Trey. Can we, leave that or whatever? I don't really want to do that," and that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's important in all areas, not just in the finance.
Yeah.
Anything else before we finish? You want to tell the listeners about why you think this model's been successful and continues to be successful? Anything else you want to mention? This is going to be listened to by people who, want to see how your model's been successful, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think you've said enough for people to understand how they can do that?
I think it's a start. I mean, we haven't really got into the mechanics of it, really, have we?
No, we haven't.
But it's a start, because that relationship is the start, how it works.
I think we have got a sense of how you build the relationship.
Yeah.
The physical side, I believe, we'll do on video.
Yeah.
We'll actually do a video, and that'll kind of go in tandem with the one about therapeutic relationship. Because I think people need to see real people in real time doing what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah? And then I'll be asking you questions as well at the same time.
Yeah.
And we'll do it in a way that's going to feed into the DVD, which we're hoping we're going to get done this year, and with the years are going to, where, you actually are moving in real time. Things like trays coming in and how you begin to do the actual cashing up. Nigel saying, "Do you want a cuppa before we start?"
Yeah.
Letting people see real time.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
That's fine.
Yeah, that'll be good. That.
It will be.
It's difficult to think about what you actually do, because you just do it.
Well, yeah. It's very hard to get a successful model across to other people because you just do it.
Yeah.
It's only easy if you know how. But to get that across to an audience is more difficult.
Yes, it is.
But I think that's a good start. It's hard. It's a difficult concept because it's one that you probably didn't even see and understand.
No, it's just something that you work on together, because we were spending time together and doing things together. So you kind of just develop that way, really.
I think it's going to be a celebration of the success you both had when it goes out, because I haven't seen this. I saw it with certain members of staff at Walsingham, with like Ronnie and Tony and Graham.
Yeah.
That's the way that they operate. Stephen as well.
Yeah.
But I didn't see much of it out there. But the reason why you don't see that much out there is because people don't bring in value, respect, compassion, empathy, all the things that Stephen did for John and with Gary and Graham, Tony. They had that understanding, that compassion, trying to get to know them as well. And you've only got to mention, who do you like in Wedgwood Road, Gary?
All those names.
The names come up, and he's got a whole list of other fuckers that he wouldn't piss on him on fire, and it's only because they've taken the time to be themselves. And show respect and empathy and compassion, and they could go in the flat with Gary and work with the money. It's fine.
Yeah.
None of them have any directives about caps on money and things like that. So I think when we do the next one, we'll highlight how you get to that point while you're doing the money.
Yes. Yeah. While you're doing the activities and stuff.
Yeah.
So are we gonna put the heat on now? Now we've finished. We've got hypothermia, folks.
It's cold.
Yeah, and I think it must be lunchtime.
Yes.
So thanks, folks. Any comments, please feel free to. No words like bullshit, because I don't think that's a good argument. You know who you are if you're listening. But anybody got any questions? I'm sure Trey, Nigel, and myself are quite happy to if we can answer that.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Thank you. It's a wrap.